Yes, sir. It's your boy, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And on today's episode of the Eric Crocker Show, man, we're getting into all things pertaining to the 49ers. And we got a fantasy twist to it. But we're going to talk about the importance of Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel versus Brandon Aiyuk. Who's primed to have a better season? Is this going to be Brandon Aiyuk's breakout year? Are there things to be concerned about with Christian McCaffrey? Some of the news. And is Elijah Mitchell the guy that people are sleeping on? And also, we're actually going to start off with a little bit of film, a couple of plays from Ronnie Bell. We're going to talk about all that and more. And I'm actually going to have a little bit of help with that today. We got a giveaway or an Underdog Fantasy giveaway. All right. So we've talked about Underdog Fantasy a lot on this show. You see it right there below. Underdog Fantasy. Go to the website or download the app and use promo code Crocky. But what we're doing today is I get to pick a random person in the chat and give them $50. All I'm gonna need is I just need your username on Underdog Fantasy. So this is how we're gonna do it. If you haven't already, go to Underdog Fantasy, download the app, use promo code Crocky when you sign up. All right, you're gonna actually get a username, or you're gonna set up your username. When you do that, I'm gonna tell you guys when, and you're gonna put your username in the chat. I'm gonna close my eyes and kind of boom, you. All right, and then let's say if it's Tia Ingram, boom, Tia Ingram, you have one. You send me your username, and then boom, I give it to my guy, and $50 will be deposited into your Underdog Fantasy account. So it's pretty damn simple. It's pretty simple. All right, I'm trying to give away $50 for you guys to play with. All right, but again, you have to have Underdog Fantasy. And if you don't have it already, use promo code Crocky. Sign up right now. We are actually going to start with a little bit of film. All right. We're going to dive into one Ronnie Bell. He's a guy who clearly was a special team standout. He did an amazing job just really showcasing his ability from a returner as a receiver as well. But I noticed some things in college, and I'm seeing a trend of it in the NFL. Not that he can improve on it, but I see a clear area where I think that he's has the most value, and then another area where it's like, I might shy away from that a little bit. All right, so let's throw the film on there and look at Ronnie Bell. Here we go. All right, so Ronnie Bell, you see him right here. He's up top. All right, if he's outside the numbers, that is as up top as it gets. And let me make this bigger here. So the one thing that I noticed with Ronnie Bell is, he's a guy that ran in the 4.5s, right? Like 4.57. And we always talk about how speed as it pertains to receivers, it's not that you have to run a 4.3. You just have to give the illusion that you're running fast. Why do we want to give the illusion that we're running fast, right? Even if you're a 4.57 guy, you want to just show or threaten the cornerback vertically. All right. So we see the cornerback right here up top. We don't want the cornerback to just be able to sit on our routes. All right. So I remember hearing Kyle Shanahan one time, somebody asked him, like, what goes into a receiver being able to play outside? And he's like, man, it's being able to win vertically. And I think when it comes to Ronnie Bell, guys just don't think that that's something that he's going to do consistently. So a guy like Mathis here, and Mathis, he was a 4.39 guy coming out of college, believe he went to Pittsburgh. He's sitting on his route here. So what does it look like when a guy isn't threatened? Even though he opens up here, he's opened up, but he's still head down here. He's not in a panic, all right, or his clock isn't sped up because he's not really threatened by his speed. So he has his eyes down. Boom, he's right here, and he's waiting. Are you going to throttle down? Are you going to throttle down? And boom, when you throttle down, he throttles down with you. And, I mean, there's literally nowhere for this quarterback to throw the ball. It gets broken up, all right, and that's the third down play. So we'll watch it one more time. All right, you see Ronnie Bell up top, not really threatening the corner. He sits on the route, and boom, breaks it up. Now, the outside is a little bit tougher for receivers because you don't have as much space to work with. So you better be able to win with either speed, size, or savviness. And we see some guys like that aren't as fast. I'll throw out a name like Devontae Adams because y'all know what that looks like. Devontae Adams, he's going to threaten the cornerback. They're scared of him going vertical because he's either going to catch it the back shoulder, get on top of you, or do some little subtleness he likes to do to help him create some type of separation, or he can win with body positioning. All right, Ronnie Bell, not sure if that's going to be his thing, being able to win consistently on the outside. But where I think he can be successful is definitely right here in the slot. All right, we see Ronnie Bell right here in the slot. Now it's a little tougher, all right, because there's just this added pressure on any nickel DB because look, man, you got two-way goes. Whether you do something quick right now, right here, going in or out, whether you push vertical, even though he's not the fastest guy, he still can threaten you on a slot fade for sure because there's so much space. All right, but right here is just boom. Let me attack. Look at him attack that outside shoulder. Nice route right here, and boom, and break that. So he created even more space by that outside stem. All right, and then now when he breaks his route off, look at that space that is already created. Trey Lance puts it on him, boom, and then now he has a great opportunity for run after catch. All right. So again, I just kind of wanted to show some of the things that I saw in college and things that I definitely think will be a little bit more consistent at the NFL level with Ronnie Bell and what I think his biggest value is. I think it's definitely more so as a pure slot. Now, again, we watched him against the Raiders. He did win on the go route on the outside. Is that going to be consistent with his game? Obviously, with the 49ers, they're not throwing a whole lot of go routes anyways. But just in general, I think where he's going to win is going to be more so with him having space and then that added pressure on nickels and then him just being able to run the routes the way that Kyle Shanahan wants. If it's got to be 8 steps and then break that off, it's got to be 8 steps. And I think he can do those things. And then we watched him with his run after catch, and I think he was tremendous. All right, so is he threatening guys on the outside? Maybe not as much. Probably not going to be his biggest asset to the team. Can he win inside with space? I definitely think so. And then his run after catch can take over the rest. All right. I just kind of want to start off with that. And maybe what I'll do is end up starting off with a little bit of film study for every episode to where we just kind of, look into some things and see what some of these guys are doing on film. All right, so we're getting into this show, man. Again, Underdog Fantasy promo code Crocky. We got a giveaway today, $50 giveaway. So in order to be eligible for the giveaway, you, the audience right now, you have to, one, already be a member of Underdog Fantasy. If you're not, go do it right now. Download the app, use promo code Crocky. All right, and of course, they'll double your deposit up to $100, but you also will be eligible for the giveaway in the chat coming up. So, I'll ask you to put your username in here. You'll put it in there, and then boom. If I pick you, we're talking about $50 just thrown in there, and you can get in on some college football action, especially if you're in California. All right. I was in Arkansas, couldn't do the college football. California, we could do the college football. So, that'd be a nice little $50 in your pocket. Well, in the Underdog pocket, I guess you could say. Underdog was good to me last year. Croc put me on, and I appreciate it. That's right. Let's go. And it's fun. It makes every game way more exciting. And then they got the, halftime odds and all that type of stuff, man. It's a good time. It's a good time. And like 49ers girl said, promo code Crocky. Let's go. All right, now, this is not Crocky that's coming up. Now, it's my guy, Sosa Picks, man. So, Sosa, how you doing this morning?
You already know what it is, man. I'm having a great start to the weekend. Getting ready for like a million fantasy football drafts over the next week. But, I'm excited, man. You see, we getting fresh. We're getting ready for the season. Got to have all the gear right. Got to have all the stuff correct.
You said the gear right. I think that there's a lot of people in this chat right now that might disagree with some of the gear you have on. So, what is that hoodie you have on with that B on there?
See, this. First off, as you see, we're Nike boys over here. We don't do the Adidas. Not in this household. That will never happen.
This is over stripes. That's what I like.
The special edition, Ebbets Field edition of a Brooklyn Dodgers, Brooklyn Dodgers capsule that they did a couple of years ago, celebrating Ebbets Field. And I'm a Dodger fan. Obviously, I live in Philly. I lived in LA for an extended period of time, but it's still.
Is that how you became a Dodger fan? Like being in LA?
Yeah, living in LA, and I've always been like a fan of. I was a fan of certain players. Like I was a big Chase Utley guy. And like when I was living in LA, he was playing for him. Like he obviously had a nice second part of his career, or like a bit of a stint with the Dodgers, and right before his career ended. But I rock with the Dodgers to the end, man. Last night was a tough one for us, but it is what it is. We move.
Yeah, well, Giants got to start closing that gap a little bit on the Dodgers. So most of my audience right now, everybody in the chat, they're going to be a lot of
for the wild card. Like. Something you're not winning the division. Just try to get in the dance. Hey
man, you never know. We get hot at the right time. So with the Giants, sometimes it's not even so much being good over the entire year. It's just about being good at the right time. And when I watched us win, I don't know, 3 championships over the span of like 6 years or 5 years.
But who's counting, right?
Yeah, So, but I remember watching it every year started off where it was like, damn, are we good? And then all of a sudden, right after that All-Star break, it's like, boom, get hot. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I knew what was it, last year was not going to be great, or is it the year before last when we won like 107 games?
2 years ago. Y'all got out really hot, and then it just kind
of
too
hot. Yeah. I mean, we were good throughout the year. Like, that's not our MO to like win it all. It's like, bro, we got to be kind of bad early on. People got to doubt us, and then like we get hot later in the year.
Out at the right time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. So we're talking a lot of 49ers football this morning, and I kind of wanted to start with Christian McCaffrey. There's some news coming out about the 49ers potentially putting McCaffrey on some kind of pitch count, but as it pertains to fantasy football or underdog fantasy, is Christian McCaffrey someone that should be drafted as high as he's going, right? The 49ers are coming out and saying like, people think he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard rusher, and I definitely can see a scenario where that happens. But I remember watching the games last year, and it felt like when Elijah Mitchell was healthy, right, and that was the other back they could count on, they actually didn't utilize CMC as much in the run game as possible. Again, when Elijah Mitchell was healthy. Now, when Mitchell wasn't out there, he's like, all right, we're going to ride Christian McCaffrey. But do you see there potentially being some kind of split between the guys where maybe Caffrey they're like, we're really going to kind of try to preserve you for the playoffs. You'll do good. You'll have numbers, but maybe not to the extent of what fantasy owners are expecting.
I think that's a lot to do about nothing, to be totally honest with you. Listen, this guy's getting paid a lot of money. 2, we saw the offense take an extreme upward trajectory when he entered the lineup last year, right? I think it's cool for Kyle to say that until he needs Christian McCaffrey to make plays for him in the fourth quarter of a game. It always sounds good, right? Because that's the NFL. Like, we would love to get all of our best players some rest throughout the duration of a game, right? Because we don't want to run them into the ground. But I think his presence alone on the field holds weight. And I also just don't like, his numbers are just so pedestrian to where he's not like a top 5-6 guy. To be totally honest, I mean, he's going to be a huge piece of the passing game. And obviously, you've seen the way that Kyle has gone about with this offense. It's point guard. It's get the ball out of your hands, get it into your playmakers' hands. Also, the screen game. I will say this, though. The one thing I do like about Elijah Mitchell is Elijah Mitchell's running style is perfect for salting a game away, which is what you saw. Remember last year, like, you let him get those physical carries towards the end of the game to just kind of salt the game's way because the offense was so good and putting up points. So I think they coincide very well together. I also think people take for granted how well Elijah understands the offense. He understands zone running along the lines of any running back that's been in the system. If we're being honest, it's just a matter of with him durability. I mean, he's missed games both years, but when he's in the lineup, he's been extremely effective behind this offensive line for real. No questions asked. So I get it. I don't think that he's overvalued, but I don't think that I think that people who are scared by Kyle's comments just hawk it back a little bit. I think they'll be just fine. To be totally honest with you, I think Christian McCaffrey, 20 touches, 20 to 23, around there, 23 a game. If he gets 23 touches a game, anywhere from 23 to and up, I don't see a scenario in which he's not effective. You know what I mean? He's going to catch Christian McCaffrey could catch 7-8 passes a game if you were the quarterback.
All right, so here, and so are you thinking of him being more so a like PPR guy as opposed to your kind of standard league, or do you think that doesn't matter?
I mean, he's the PPR god, man. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is the arguably the best PPR running back in the league. I mean, the other guys you would put in his class, I guess, would be like a Saquon who catches a lot of passes, but like McCaffrey is the show. Eckler obviously is the PPR god. He's not going to give you much between the tackles. I love the 4.5 receiving touchdowns for McCaffrey. But are they offering like a combo of rushing and receiving? Because see, that is where I would like if it's somewhere I would guess it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 15. You got a combination? I don't know.
No combination. They're trying to make you decide. Do you want McCaffrey's rushing total touchdowns? Do you want his receiving touchdowns? Do you want his rushing yards. Like there's no because they pretty much have him right here at 12 touchdowns. So they're not saying, do you think he's gonna have more than 12? It's like you got to be specific. Do you think he's gonna have more than 7 rushing touchdowns or less than 7 rushing touchdowns?
I like the over 599.5 receiving yards. Right? I mean, yeah, I love that. Simply because that would equate to like 40 receiving yards a game, like 50, like 16, 18 times 50 is 900. So 18 times 40 or 17 times 40 is 17 to 17 is 34.
I can't pull out the calculator.
Yeah, so it's around 40 yards a game receiving. You know, that is extremely attainable no matter who the quarterback is. And I think that's my number one thing is like with him is, bro, we know he's going to get the targets, whether it's by design or whether he gets dump offs or check downs. He's going to be a huge part of the offense regardless. Like I said, whether it's handing the ball off or getting a bunch of check downs. So yeah, 17 games. Yeah. 17 times 3 is 51. So yeah, it's close to 40 yards a game receiving. You got to think he'll probably have 5 games where if he has 5 games where he goes over 50, you know, you're well on your way there, you know, which is like, again, when you're getting 7-8 targets minimum a game, I don't see a world in which he doesn't eclipse 600 receiving yards barring injury. Obviously,
it is 35. That's 35 yards a game. Receiving.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, for this on a season, 599.5 seems absolutely, yes, like close to 40. I know it was in that ballpark. I was trying to do it quick for y'all, man. My bad. You know what I mean? I'm trying
there's a lot of people that really love his 900 rushing yard total. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's definitely attainable, but again, I can see situations in maybe 5 or 6 games where the Niners are up late in games and they decide to go to Elijah Mitchell to ice the game, knowing that, you know, they're not going to, you know what I mean? You saw it last year. They did it last year with him. Like when Elijah Mitchell came back, they gave Elijah Mitchell all those crazy physical handoffs at the end of games. It was, I mean, go look it up. Like when Elijah Mitchell came back, all the hard running to salt games away when we were up winning, he was getting fucked up. I'm sorry, I mean to cuss. I don't know if I.
You're good. So you're talking a lot about Elijah Mitchell, and I know before we came on here, you're like, man, Elijah Mitchell might be kind of the sleeper, especially as it pertains to fantasy football. Now, I am in outside of Underdog Fantasy Best Ball. I am in one fantasy league, but in that one fantasy league, I do in fact have Elijah Mitchell. All right. So right now we see his over under on his yards is set at 560. Are you taking the higher on that?
I like the over for sure. And then obviously everything pertains to health here, right? The thing is that Elijah Mitchell would get hurt, come back and be healthy and look great. But listen, if McCaffrey goes down, I'm not going to say that I'm not worried about how the offense will perform, but I wouldn't go into a panic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that Elijah's, like I said, as far as in between the tackles, obviously he doesn't give you what McCaffrey gives you in the pass game. But from a running back standpoint and an understanding of zone rushing and zone running, the kid gets it, bro. He understands the system, just like Jeff Wilson, just like Mostert. He gets it,
which is crazy because early in Elijah Mitchell's career, like that was the biggest knock was, he's not seeing the field right. He's not seeing the field correctly. His vision isn't great. And then you know how like social media is, especially Twitter. Once you kind of get this tag on you, everyone starts to use that same narrative on you. And I thought he actually ran maybe a little bit better than people were saying. But obviously you saw him continue to get better throughout the season. And then last year, it just felt like, oh, this is a really good runner. And then boom, he gets hurt in the first half. I mean, he was on his way in that Bears game to where it's like, oh, this is the back that they want him to be. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but every time he came back, he picked up where he left off. And, you know, his average per carry was crazy. He ran well. He ran strong. He even, you know, caught some passes. But I think, you know, obviously the talk of the town is going to be about Christian McCaffrey, and deservedly so. I mean, he's maybe the most important player on the 49ers offense, but Elijah Mitchell as a spellback, he might be in one of the better spellback situations in the NFL as long as he can stay healthy.
Absolutely. And also remember, we classify sports fans now a little differently, right? There are guys that actually know ball. And then there are guys who are fans. And then there are guys that judge players based on how bad their parlays do that week. And that's how it goes. There's some guys that are on the internet that are convinced that players suck because they lost them money. Elijah Mitchell, the guys that think that Elijah Mitchell don't fit or have something negative to say, they have bet on Elijah Mitchell. He has either gotten hurt or has not accomplished the number, and that's how they have made their dissemination of facts on that player. That's what listen, it's 2023. That's what we're dealing with, bro. We're dealing with people who, if the parlay don't hit, that guy sucks. And you see it with every sport. So, you know what I mean? That's how it is. If you're looking at Elijah, I think Elijah over 560 is a very good bet full season. No question.
Awesome stuff there. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in right now. Again, me, Eric Crocker, got my guy Sosa Picks with me, talking all things 49ers and fantasy as well. We're going to tie in some of the narratives or storylines with the 49ers and their players. Are we expecting breakout seasons with some of these guys? And then we're tying into Underdog Fantasy. You got the best ball going. You got the pick'ems going on Underdog Fantasy. And we have our giveaway. So, again, today, in this chat, I am giving away $50. And it's not just a today thing. This will be every week. Underdog Fantasy said, Croc, whatever you need, let's go. So every week, I am giving away $50 of Underdog Fantasy money to a random person in the chat. So how do you qualify for this? You just have to have a username. If you have an Underdog Fantasy username, you are eligible. I saw someone in the chat say, well, what if we've already had Underdog Fantasy? Then you're good. We're just going to have you post your username in the chat. So if you don't have Underdog Fantasy, download the app right now or go to UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code Crocky. That's CROCKY. All right, let's talk about some of these pass catchers. And I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk. Who should the 49ers prioritize? Brandon Aiyuk is the guy who everyone is like, this is the year. Like, wide receiver 1, top 10 receiver in the league. You saw how he finished last year. He ended up being a 1,000-yard receiver. What are your expectations for Brandon Aiyuk? Because when I watch him in the preseason, it's still, even though he got a couple targets, and we're talking about a couple possessions that he played in, but I get the sense that Kyle is just going to run his offense. Like, he's going to run his offense. He's going to run his scheme. And because of all the weapons the 49ers have, this is not the Atlanta Falcons, where it's like, all right, I got to prioritize Julio Jones every time I have an opportunity to, and he's just going to eat, and he's going to get 200 targets. All right. They're going to do a little different where, hey, whoever, either the hot hand or if there's a certain ability for McCaffrey to do some run after catch. And what I wrote on paper was, does McCaffrey, I said, is the offense what limits Brandon Aiyuk? Will Brandon Aiyuk have to do the heavy lifting for a big year? And what I mean by that is, what we saw in this last preseason game. He caught a 5-yard pass and then took it 40 yards down the sideline. Is he going to have to continue to be productive because of the run after catch? Or are we going to see just this influx in his volume of passes that are targeted towards him? And then if he does, is he going to hit some of these numbers that we're going to pull up in a minute? But what are your thoughts right now? We'll start with Brandon Aiyuk, then we'll get to Deebo Samuel.
First off, we all know why Brandon Aiyuk holds value. He's an ex-receiver. He's going to he's going to play on the outside the entire game, and he's going to give you a presence outside. He primarily has to beat, one-on-one coverage, and that would be, and obviously Kyle puts you in a lot of situations to be successful. The thing I like mostly is that, 1, it's an equal opportunity offense. 2, he's your best outside target. It's undeniable and unquestioned, right? I also wanted to bring up something, bro. People talk about Aiyuk, right? Listen, I don't think Aiyuk has to have an amazing season to get a deal elsewhere if he was to leave. And I say that because he's got better numbers through his first 2 seasons than Stephon Diggs. No one seems to bring that up. You know what I mean? Obviously, Diggs went to Buffalo, right?
Right.
You know that Diggs had he had 2 1,000-yard seasons. In his first 3 years in Minnesota, he didn't break 1,000 yards.
Wow.
He didn't get over 1,000 yards. Ayuk's had a better start to his career in the NFL than Stephon Diggs, and he is nowhere near as high volume, right? And I bring that up because it's being in an equal opportunity offense. you would expect somebody's numbers to go off the charts one year. Like 2 years ago, it was Deebo when he got the All-Pro. He went crazy. And then, we've had Kittle had a couple of crazy years in the offense, right? I think that Aiyuk is going to have a good year. And listen, he's going to get 1,000 yards, get anywhere from 6 to 10 touchdowns. I don't really think it matters who plays quarterback either. Simply because he understands the offense to a T. He knows where to sit it down. He knows when he has one-on-one that he has to win. He can high point the ball. He can get physical. He's not scared of contact. So I like Aiyuk to have a great year in the offense. Barring injury. You know this more than anyone. Talent is distributed all over the NFL. Health is not. You don't know what the future has to hold or what could nick a guy up and put them in a situation that's bad. Now, on the side where we talk about Deebo, obviously, when you get an All-Pro, the levels, the standard changes, right? People judge you a little bit differently, and if you don't match up to that year to year, people are going to talk. We've seen Deebo. Deebo looks like he's lost weight and he's in shape. He looks like the dynamic guy that we took out of South Carolina that we stole in the draft that should not have been drafted that low, right? We know that. The great thing about Deebo is his versatility. We know that he can get reps in the backfield. We know that he can run routes. We know that if need be, he can take it over the top. That's nothing people forget, right? Deebo he does have that next level explosiveness when he needs it. He don't get caught from behind. He run away from a lot of people. There's a lot of highlights of Deebo running away from people. So I'm high on Aiyuk. I'm looking forward to see the situation with Kittle. Have we gotten an update on his health? Because again, that Brock Purdy played extremely well with Kittle when Purdy was the quarterback.
Especially in the red zone. It sounds like they are. He has some kind of injury again. To the extent I'm not sure.
It was a groin. Was it a groin injury or?
He's out. He was out this week, and they're giving him off until like Monday. So Monday they expect him to be full go. But sometimes with injuries like that, there are things that can linger. So obviously George Kittle, he's kind of battled through some injuries, but he's tough, man. So if he can go, I believe he'll be out there. He'll be on the field. We're gonna start to dive into some of these underdog numbers and we're starting with Brandon Aiyuk. All right, so we're pulling up Brandon Aiyuk's numbers here, and we saw the season he had last year. He surpassed definitely the touchdowns. He surpassed the yards. I'm not sure he surpassed the 1.5 100-yard games. I think he only had 100-yard game, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
Right? But are there any of these lines that you like more than the other?
I've already bet his 7. I've already bet because I'm a gambler. Obviously, with Underdog, it's a little bit different. It's a contest where you pick higher or lower or over under, right? It's a little different. Right. Listen, I like Aiyuk to get close to 1,000 yards.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna say it again. This guy's first 2 years in the NFL has been better than Stephon Diggs. The guy that everybody loves so much because he got a quarterback with a rocket arm. And like I said, I'm going to compare it to that because on tape, you only see what you with the receiver. When you look at the tape, does the guy get open? Yes. Is he going to get the ball every time? No. Aiyuk, open even when he doesn't get the ball, respectfully. 775, I think, is a steal. The 100-yard games, that's a coin flip, right? You could get 100 yards and 2 catches with a busted coverage. So I would stay away from that. I would err more on the side of consistency. Do they have like a total catches?
They do not for him. No, they don't.
See, like that's what I'd be looking for. It'd probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70, 75 if you can get it on like a.
That's crazy. I was thinking 76. Like when you said it, I was thinking 76. But yeah,
on like a book, that's what you're going to be looking for. So if I get like a total on like his receptions anywhere under 80, I would do it. The 4.5 touchdowns I like too. Obviously, everybody expects some level of regression, right? And remember, the regression is not just going to come from the offense. Everybody's expecting it from the offense. Our defense was so good last year, it has to regress. There's no way around it. I just want to make that clear for people who are so excited about the offense. Listen, the defense last year allowed our offense to be that good. Now, we have a lot of the same pieces, But you can't. It's not a guarantee that you replicate that defensive performance year to year to where your defense is so good it gives your offense 5-6 extra chances a game.
Right. Or just better situations, more opportunities around the red zone, right? 49ers, I want to say against the Washington Commanders. 3 times in that game, they took the ball away from the Commanders and had the ball in like plus territory. Now, each of those 3 times, they only came away with a field goal. So that's less than ideal. And somehow they still scored a bunch of points.
Right.
But more opportunities for these guys. And you look at this touchdown total for Brandon Aiyuk, 4.5. We saw 2 opportunities in just this last preseason game in 2 drives. One, he got tackled at the 1-yard line. And I'm like, look, and the 49ers ended up not scoring on that drive. You can't let that linebacker tackle you. I know you're just kind of breaking out. I know you're trying to get going, but you got to score. Like the great receivers in the league, they figure out how to get that in the box. And then the next opportunity he had, Brock Purdy threw a fade to him. Now the ball sailed out of bounds, but you just see what they're thinking. We are going to try to get this guy the ball around the end zone. And if we're not, then he's going to get in the box. So I actually kind of like his 4.5 receiving touchdown total. I think that's something that surpassed. We saw him get a decent amount of touchdowns last year. I want to say, 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored a decent amount of touchdowns, whether it was his rookie year, last year. As long as he's healthy, which he's the guy that you can kind of really count on throughout the year, I expect him to hit the higher on that touchdown number.
For sure. I'm like I said, 4.5. I like it. The number is definitely the number is definitely inviting. Like I said, I'm a huge believer in Aiyuk, man. I love when we drafted him. I love the fact that he's continued to get better. And I think you can agree with this. The mark of the elite the mark of an elite wide receiver is their ability to get the job done when there's people changing in and out of quarterback. Those are the best receivers in football. I know people are going to make noise for guys who have had consistent quarterback play. But my favorite receiver in the league that no one talks about is a guy like McLaurin. McLaurin's had 10 quarterbacks in 4 seasons, never not had 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
That's an elite receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing his thing regardless. And this year he's going to have another quarterback somehow, which somehow he started off is looking good. Now, I picked up Dotson on this. And the sleeper might be, and hopefully nobody from the league I'm in is in this chat right now, but the sleeper might be De'Ami Brown. And that's a guy who somehow had a connection with in college, obviously at North Carolina. And you saw in the preseason just throwing the ball down the field, looking for De'Ami Brown. Can they kind of get that camaraderie?
Can they get the Wi-Fi going?
Right. Can they get that going? So I'll be looking at. But as far as Deebo Samuel, all right, you talked about how you're expecting a big season out of it. It's 4.5. He only had, I want to say, like 2 touchdowns total last year, maybe 3. It wasn't a great year for Deebo. He'd tell you right now, like, dude, I played like trash. So he was definitely lower. Like we just talked about Aiyuk. Aiyuk was over in all the numbers that Underdog has with their lines for him. Deebo, he was under in all these. I just think that was a drastically down year, especially statistically, that we won't see again. But what are your thoughts on some of these lines? Is there a favorite line you have for Deebo Samuel? 4.5 receiving touchdowns or 726 receiving yards?
All right. From an underdog standpoint, the 726.5 feels extremely low. Extremely low. Obviously, there was talk last year. It came into camp late. It wasn't in shape. All that other stuff. Listen, I like the 7. I love the over 726.5 to be higher, and I also would take a ticket on his receiving yards. Also, if you're gonna be on a betting side with him game to game, I would invest in his rushing yards because you're gonna get it at an ultra low number. I mean, I want to think like the books are gonna market it like 9.5 a game,
especially early on.
Yes, and if you can just get those early, and I have to mention that because like that's what makes Deebo so special, is that there are exploitable things game to game with him from a betting standpoint that you don't get with a lot of other guys. Deebo could get 1 carry for 20 yards and he cashes you out, and that's all you need. He did it in the playoff game. First carry of the game had 19 yards. First touch of the game against Seattle. 19-yard rush, number was at 9.5. See, and I think that's the reason why people like Underdog aren't offering a rushing total, because they know he'll surpass it.
Right.
So if you can find it on a book And if you can get it game to game, lock in. The 726.5 I love. I have no problem taking a ticket on an all-pro receiver from 2 years ago, especially when, Kittle might miss some time. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that he does, but if he, you know what I mean? It's just, you got to think if one of these guys are down, Kyle's going to game plan for just one of those other guys to get more touches. It's just how he does things. So our expectation over a 17-game sample with Brock Purdy is that we have an elite offense. He didn't show us anything differently last year, did he?
Not that I saw.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, even if there is a level of regression, are they going to average 35 a game? Probably not. But 27, 28 is still really good. It's still really good, man.
Yeah. And if you look at what the 49ers in the preseason, I understand, all the starters aren't out there. Hell, 49ers, some of their starters weren't out there, right? But
Absolutely.
3 drives from Brock Purdy, 3 drives inside the 10. You know what I'm saying? One that got fumbled at the goal line because Jordan Mason fumbled. Maybe that's Christian McCaffrey. All right, maybe he doesn't fumble. He takes care of the ball. And what was the other one? Took a sack. Maybe that guy comes off the left side free like that because there's no Trent Williams. Maybe, if he had kind of gotten a little bit more comfortable with the speed of the game, he just flips it to Juwan Jennings. So I expect the 49ers with Brock Purdy at quarterback to continue to really move the ball and put the 49ers in scoring position. It feels a lot like when Jimmy Garoppolo took over, is you always had a chance to be in scoring position, whether you're getting a touchdown or a field goal.
Yes, sir.
It almost feels like Brock might convert those more into touchdowns. All right. But again, they might regress from 33 points a game with him, but I can definitely see 27, 28 points a game.
Brock has, because I don't want to mess this up. It's not quite sneaky athleticism, because sneaky athleticism are for the athletic white boys. He's just under sneaky. You know what I'm saying?
So he's not Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones, who I think if Daniel Jones was black, we wouldn't say that he's sneaky athletic.
What? We'd be talking about him like he was Mike fucking Vick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We would. What? 500 yards, 6-7 touchdowns on the ground a year?
700 yards rushing last year. But he's sneaky athletic, I guess.
Sneaky. I heard he's a coach's son. I heard he's the last one in, first one in, last one out.
I know.
I heard he's a real locker room guy. The guys just love him, That's
the guy you want your daughter to date.
He's a coach's son, bro. That's a coach's son.
Jake in the chat says, respect Vanilla Vic.
But man, listen, if Daniel Jones was black, we'd be talking about him a little differently. And that's no knock. But like I said, with Brock, that's one thing that Brock's going to give you that Jimmy not. He got, remember when I don't know if you ever seen the Jalen Hurts interview when he was like, I can get freaky.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean by it? He's like, it's a little Brock got a little bit of that in him, bro. He got a little bit that you don't, you know what I mean? Where you're not expecting it. And it's like, damn, what the fuck? He just scored a touchdown. He's like that, bro. You know what I mean? So if you can get a line on Brock Purdy's rushing touchdowns, which you probably can't get right now I would take it.
Underdog is kind of sleeping on Purdy right now. I mean,
Purdy's when I say a couple of walk-ins just off of who's on the field. Bro, listen, there's going to be a couple plays where the left side is one receiver on the left side. And as soon as Purdy sees the cornerback not playing zone and running with the receiver, he's taking off. Right. Headed straight to the end zone. Inside 10 yards. And Kyle taught that to all of his. He's taught that to all of his quarterbacks. Even Jimmy would get a couple of fall-ins, right? Where it's like everybody's just, they're not even accounting for him. That's going to happen. Hey,
we got Spivey in the chat. I think he says that we're being racist, but I would say we're being the opposite. We are acknowledging that if Daniel Jones looked different, people would respect him more. They'd say, no, this guy is a legit athlete. But because he's a white guy, they always will, all these quarterbacks. And I'm like, Daniel Jones is not sneaky athletic. He's just hella athletic. Why do you get told he's sneaky?
They don't. Here's what it is. They don't show him the respect because they're too busy giving Saquon all the credit for his success. Saquon, yes, I'm not going to lie to you. On read options, I'm probably not going to consider going with Daniel Jones when musclehead Barry Sanders is in the backfield. I'm just saying.
When he pulls, though, when Daniel Jones pulls, he can outrun your entire.
He talk about he got it, bro. The only thing that tackles Daniel Jones in the open field is the turf monster. I think the turf monster has cost him more touchdowns than any quarterback we've ever seen. Where he gets tackled by no one, he just loses his balance. It's happened like 5 or 6 times where you've seen it, where it's like, this guy's got nothing but green grass, he just falls. It's like, what the fuck? But yeah, like we were saying, it's not a racist thing. It's just that, like, again, if
like, why do people say that? That's what we're saying. Like, we're not saying that.
I like Daniel Jones.
Oh, Daniel Jones isn't this because he's not black. Like, no, we're saying, like, if he was black, they wouldn't be saying this about, like, they wouldn't say sneaky. He's sneaky athletic. It's like, no, he's not sneaky. He's just super athletic. And if he did look different, then they would probably acknowledge that more than what we've seen them do. Like, which again, that is respect for Daniel Jones from all.
I call him Daquan when he take off like that. I don't know what I call him Daquan Jones, man. A whole different dude. He gets busy.
Right. Hey, it's Spy V, man. You got some black shortcomings and you want to put them out there in the chat? I will put them on here and we can talk about it. Whatever that is. I do not care.
You are in your feelings right now, sir.
Like and we're talking about.
I'm going to Cheesecake Factory.
We're talking about football. Whatever they might say about a black guy with football is something they can't do, or I don't know. I don't think black guys shoot as well as some of the white guys in the NBA. I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't think that's racist. It's just whatever.
Hey, man, it is what it is.
Yeah. So.
And if it is a race thing, which half of Klay Thompson shoots the ball so well? Exactly. What are we doing here? What are you doing? Like, is that what we're about to do? Is that which half of Patrick Mahomes is really good at football? Please, like, come on, bro, kick rocks, bro. Like, please.
Oh man. All right. Here we go. Last one. As far as Underdog Fantasy, then we're going to get into real quick before we get into this. Again, we're about to give out the $50. And you know what? I was just going to scroll through and pick a random person, like with my eyes closed, like, okay, here. But I'm actually going to let my host pick it. All right, my co-host, my guest. We're going to have Sosa pick it. So Sosa's just going to go through and he's going to pick. So, again, don't do it yet. I will tell y'all when to start putting your usernames in there. But if you haven't already, go to Underdog Fantasy. Download the app if you don't have it. If you do, just go to the website, whatever. And you're going to use promo code Crocky to sign up. All right. They'll double your deposit up to $100. And then you also have a chance every Friday, not just today. Every Friday, you have a chance to get a free little $50. All right. Just because you watched the show and you did all the good stuff. All right. So, last guy that we want to talk about as far as the 49ers and their lines on Underdog Fantasy. You got George Kittle here. 5.5 receiving touchdowns, 725 receiving yards, 57 receptions. I mean, I don't know which one I feel most comfortable with. Maybe the touchdowns, because I thought, and this is the part where with Brock Purdy, you saw like that jump. Everything else, it actually wasn't great. I think he had like one or two, like maybe one good receiving game, but the volume, it really wasn't quite there, because there were a lot of people like, oh man, Brock Purdy, he revitalized George Kittle's career. Then you look at the numbers, it's like, oh, not really, but he did in the end zone. So we see 5.5 receiving touchdowns. I think with a whole season of Brock Purdy, he might get 12. I think he might blow this 5.5 number away, but what are your thoughts on that?
Only one thing has ever stopped George Kittle since he's entered the NFL. That has been injuries and subpar quarterbacking. If he's healthy, I like all these numbers. If he's healthy, it's a go on all of them.
Yeah.
Question mark is he going to stay healthy? I love George Kittle. I think, again, special weapon that can be deployed, the best blocking tight end ever. I said it, the best blocking tight end the NFL has ever seen. Ever.
Which is crazy too, because he's not like a big guy.
Yeah, right.
For a receiver, like when you just see him, or for a tight end, when you see him, he's like built kind of thin. Like if you told me he was 245, I believe you. Yep. So it's like, I think a lot of it's just effort and the way he's wired, which is he's like this wrestler and wants to jump off the top rope some people. So he just kind of brings this wrestling mentality to blocking guys down the field. But as far as the numbers, so you're saying it's a little scary because of
Yeah.
So you stay away from him. You stay away from him.
That's that's the issue that you run into with George Kittle. Just look at the screen. All those numbers look like cake. They look easy as shit. You divide all those numbers by 17 and tell me you don't think that he could get them.
Right.
Like you think divide it by 17, and then when you look at what it equates to game, you're going to say to yourself, that should easily happen. Remember, under 57 and a half, it's like less than four catches a game, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I love all of them. It's just if he's healthy entering opening day, I'll probably hammer all 4 of those. I will probably put a couple $100 on each of those choices if he's healthy to start the season. You know what I'm saying? It's that easy.
We don't know though. So what we will do is, and I don't think they're going to let me do this because it's all 49er players. So what you have to do is you have to have like one player from another team. So is there a line for someone else that you really like in the NFL? Like, is there a player off the top of your head where you're like, you know what, I'm going to take that guy's line?
3 guys. Okay, I'm gonna give you some free sauce. 3 guys that I love this year, as far as from a fantasy standpoint. Bijan Robinson.
All right.
Okay, listen. And I'm gonna give you a quick stat. The last 10 running backs that were drafted in the top 10 have all been top 10 fantasy performers their rookie season.
So it's like teams they're going to feed that guy.
A 100% hit rate. There is never in the last 10 running backs, and you can just think of them. You can just think of them. I don't know why that guy's saying don't take Bijan. I'm going to say it again. There's a 100% hit rate. A 100% hit rate on running backs drafted in the top 10 in the NFL draft. They have not, the last 10 have all been top 10 running backs their rookie season. I'm sorry, Niner Gang Tay. I don't agree with you at all. That's terrible advice. That's absolutely horrendous advice. I'm sorry.
So we're not.
That's absolutely terrible advice.
We're not taking Niner Gang Tay's advice.
Unless his friends are in the comments or on the stream looking at that and he's trying to throw them off, don't pay attention to what he's saying. Respectfully. Right. Bijan is there's a reason why he was drafted top 10. They get all the running backs that get drafted top 10 get their money front loaded for a reason so that teams can run them into the ground. It's how the NFL works, bro.
Niner Gang Tay says you're going off of other people's. Like, that's.
Yeah, so hold on. Isn't data and history what we base everything on as far as projecting? So why would I not use recent history to project this season?
And the history for Bijan is any running back that's been taken in the top 10 over the last how many years?
Oh, the last 10, period.
You can name
them off the top of your head, bro. Zeke Elliott.
Christian McCaffrey.
Leonard Fournette. Oh my God.
Saquon.
Like all of them. If you drafted in the top 10 in the NFL draft, your rookie year is always good. There has not been in the last 10 guys, like I said, it's not an argument. It's just, again, people can say whatever, whatever they want. Again, I watch football. And if you know who Arthur Smith is going to give Bijan every opportunity to do that. But they had multiple games, but they ran the ball 40 times last year in the NFL. They don't play in the MAC. This is the NFL. They ran it 40. What teams running it 40 times in multiple games, bro?
All right. So what we did here was, and you kind of see some of the lines we're messing with. We got Christian McCaffrey. We're taking the higher on his receiving yards, which is right around 600. You got Elijah Mitchell. His rushing yards 560. As long as he stays healthy, that's a big. Got to stay healthy. Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel, both of their receiving yards, which that's not crazy. We saw Aiyuk have over 300 more yards than what we're seeing right here, and Deebo Samuel, he was just shy of this. I think he had like 600 something yards in a bad year. So I'd expect him to get over that. So we're taking a higher on both of those guys, and then Bijan Robinson. If you put all that together, put down $10. The payout on that is $200. All right, the payout on that is $200. So that's how Underdog Fantasy goes. You want to put more because right now I'm about to give away $50. So if you want to copy this and you want to put down 50, the payout on that is $1,000.
And we're gonna track. I'm gonna track it. I'm gonna track it all season for everybody in the chat that is negative Nancy.
There's only really been one negative Nancy.
I'm tracking all of these. I'm just saying, just general.
And Niner Gang Tay says, put your money on it.
Do not take Elijah Mitchell. Listen, we're not drafting Elijah Mitchell in our fantasy league, bro. We're putting a bet on him to be productive as the backup running back. We're not drafting him. This is not for fantasy drafting, right? This is for the Underdog website that we're currently showing you on screen.
Yep.
As a backup running back, he can get 600 yards. It's definitely attainable.
All right, so they're going to want your Twitters, and he has a lot of stuff he's doing, so we're definitely about to get to that. But before we do, it's time now, the moment everybody's been waiting for. All right, if you have Underdog Fantasy, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. Here we go. If you have Underdog Fantasy, put your username in the chat right now, and I will be giving $50 of Underdog Fantasy money to anyone in the chat or the one person that Sosa picks. No pun intended. All right. So go ahead, put your usernames in the chat. He's going to scroll through, and he's going to go, okay, I'm going to pick a person. All right. Now, if you don't have Underdog Fantasy, hurry up right now. You got a couple minutes. Download it and use promo code Crocky, and they're going to double your deposit up to $100. All right. But Underdog Fantasy, I will warn you because they didn't tell me to read off like one of those like disclaimer things or like the small print or when they start talking really fast at the end of an ad. But it can be addicting. So, make sure that you don't blow your rent money on it. All right. Don't blow your rent money on it.
It is the first of the month. Take care of that first.
Yeah, it is the first of the month. I'm paying rent today, man. Like, do not blow your rent money on this, but have fun. Have fun. Because it makes every game hella fun. I'm paying attention to every game, all because I'm looking at who's underdog. And then they got the halftime said, they know how to get you. All right. So now you're looking at halftime like, okay, I actually had this guy, but it doesn't look like he's gonna get it. So like, can I hedge my bets by going with this halftime line? And I'll be hitting on them halftime lines. They're actually my favorite, to be honest.
I got all right. So I got all the names in a list. So I'm about to. I got my thing pulled up, and let me see who we would.
And I have to write it down and send it to my.
Let me see who it decided on. All right.
Here we go.
I'm hitting the random button right now, and the name that has come up is T Scott 2. T Scott 2. You are the winner of the $50.
Here we go.
I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm glad. I'm grateful. Now I can say I decided something. Yeah. Yes. T Scott 2.
T Scott 2. All right, T Scott 2. I will be messaging my guy, and at some point over the next day or two, or however long it takes a couple days, whatever, you will see $50 pop into your Underdog Fantasy account, man. And we're gonna do that, man. We are gonna do that every Friday or Thursday or whatever. I want to definitely have Sosa come on because I thought this was a really good, informative show. Looked at different angles. He could talk to us about different trends, and not just for the 49ers. I mean, a lot of you have your fantasy teams that you're having. I mean, it's not just a 49er thing. So you guys can get his thoughts on some of your lineups and all that good stuff. But Sosa, before you get out of here, man, let everyone know where they can find all of the things that you're doing right now.
Okay, first and foremost, for NFL content and betting, Sunday QBs at Sunday QBs on Twitter. We're going to have a weekly show where we cover all the bets, all the weekly bets for all the teams in the NFL, plays across the board. And then Sosa Picks is my Twitter. I got my personal podcast called The Last Word with Sosa. I'm only on episode 3. Episode 4 is dropping next week, right before the season starts. Sosa Knows Ball on Twitter. That's for just that podcast. And then obviously Sosa Picks is my personal betting page. And then Sunday QBs is the YouTube show, which I've put a lot of time into for this season upcoming. Again, I appreciate you and all the Niner fans, all the Niner, personalities and content creators that have rocked with me. Obviously, I had a very rocky start with the Niner people on the internet. You know what I mean? Not because at times I am critical. I'm critical of the fan base. And if you we have a huge social media presence. Right. So it's very difficult to like get back on the good side. When some Niner fans get offended, it's so difficult to get back on that in good standing. So I've returned in good standing with the people that hated me last year, and I'm looking forward to a great season. And again, I greatly appreciate you having me on, and look forward to the season going crazy.
All right. And I also want to say, man, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of the Eric Crocker Show. Again, you can find this on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. The link to all those things are in the chat below. Underdog Fantasy, that's promo code Crocky. Make sure y'all get the app, man. We're going to have some fun with college football this weekend. Appreciate everybody for coming in. Appreciate my guest host, Sosa Picks, man. We're going to have to do this again real soon. But shout out to the 49er faithful out there. Shout out to everybody that watched on Twitter. Love all y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I'm out. See y'all Monday? Yeah, Monday. Peace.